I have right here Xiaomi's new 3-axis gimbal. So this is for the Mijia 4K action cam that I reviewed about 2 months ago. Quite a decent action cam for the price, but it does have one problem with 4K footage, and that is it doesn't have any electronic image stabilization, only in 1080p. So with this gimbal, hopefully we can smooth out that footage and remove those shakes and tremors that you often see. So the gimbal, you can see there, weighs 340 grams. It has a 5000 milliamp hour battery, and I think that battery can actually charge the camera too at the same time, so you can go for longer recording. Double check out and see what we get inside the box, the contents. You can see it comes here factory wrapped, which is good. That means that no one else has messed around with this. Comes with some instructions here. These are unfortunately all in Chinese, but not to worry, I will explain how to operate it, and it's fairly straightforward and easy. And we get a micro USB 2 cable here for charging the gimbal. So the build quality of this gimbal is excellent. We've got this nice matte style plastic here, status LED here to let us know our battery life. Now out of the box, mine's got 100% battery, you can see here. So each of those LEDs of course equates to 25% battery. Just to power it on is this button here, which is also the start and stop record button. Then we have the snapshot button to take a photo. And this of course is the joystick there to control the gimbal. Status LED telling us, well, it's red because we haven't got, at the moment, the camera plugged into it. On the side here we have a flap for the micro USB 2 port to charge that 5000 milliamp hour battery. This has a rubber grip to it, which feels good in hand. And then we have the trigger here. I'll explain how this works later on, but this is basically to hold the position of the gimbal. And then this little switch here, which is spring loaded, is our control there for the camera's exposure. And on the bottom we also have a standard thread there, so you can mount this gimbal to a tripod if you wanted to. So unlike the base, which is plastic, the top part here is all made out of metal. So we have the brace and of course the 3 motors in here which control each individual axis there, controlling it to keep things stable. Micro USB 2 port here which plugs directly into the camera, and this has rubber in the inside of it, which is very well done. And you can also of course screw that into place to secure the camera in there. So fitting the camera into place is quite easy. You just need to make sure that the end with the plug on it, that you have the little flap open of course, and then press this right in here, and it should then align up with that micro USB 2 port and then clips into place there. The last step of course is to screw the thread in, so then the camera is locked into that gimbal and there's no way that is going to come out. Now one good thing that they've designed, Xiaomi here, is that we can still open the flap on the bottom to at least get our micro SD cards out. So I've just flipped it around because it's hard to show you the screen when it's in the gimbal here. So once you plug it in, you get this new little icon here that pops up on the touch menu, and this controls the gimbal settings. So we've got different scene modes. We've got sport, normal, you can see here normal, sport, and then wear, and custom, which you can tweak via the application. You can invert the pan direction, the yaw direction, and the pitch direction as well if you wanted to do that. Device info just gives you info on the gimbal's model, the firmware version it has. So this is probably one of the earlier ones. I don't know how they're going to push the updates out for this. It might be via the camera, I guess, is how you update it, or via your PC. I don't have any details on that whatsoever. Of course, the instructions are all in Chinese, and restore factory settings. Just to point out a couple of things too with the gimbal, that when you power it powers on the camera automatically. You don't need to turn the camera on separately. And charging the gimbal with the camera attached will also charge the camera. So here I'm just panning around with my hand, just moving very slowly. You can see the image is pretty steady. I mean, it's not 100% perfect. I'll just walk towards my scooter here. And I'll give you a sample too without the gimbal so you can see just the kind of difference. It's pretty much like day and night. It's doing a reasonably good job. So if I start to run now, and then I'll just pan around slowly using the joystick. It takes a little bit of practice, this joystick, to get the movement nice and slow. And now the same as before, but as you can see it's all shaky because not using the gimbal. And if I run again, you can see the huge difference that makes. And then panning around myself here, handheld isn't too bad. I don't have the steadiest of hands. And now this is the locking mode. So I'm going to keep it pointing towards the coast here. Hold down the trigger now and just keep walking. It should keep aiming in that direction. So it's another way you can get some interesting shots with this. And you can see just how well that stabilization is working there. Just remember that in 4K, this does not have any electronic image stabilization at all. In 1080p, you do have electronic image stabilization, so it will be even smoother. And you can also use the gimbal inverted, so it's around the other way at the moment, and because you can get more interesting shots using that to get down really low, for example. So it's pretty flexible in the different kind of modes you can use it. And to quickly test out that selfie mode, so 3 quick taps. And now you can see me, of course. And then 3 quick taps again, it should point back that way. Now to test it out riding my scooter, so I'm going to hold it with one hand on the scooter and then just accelerate off and see if this is smooth or not, because it's very bumpy, this ground here at the moment. Alright, so there we go. That is the gimbal here for the Xiaomi 4K action cam. And overall, I feel it's really good. I mean, the build quality is typical Xiaomi. It's excellent, really well put together. I love the fact that we can see the battery level on the back with the 4 status LEDs we have on there. Now, battery life, it is looking like it is going to work for 6 to 8 hours like they claim. Well, they claim up to 8 hours. But in my time using it for approximately 2 hours, I lost one dot there. One of the LEDs went out and it started flashing on the next. So that means I've lost somewhere between like 25% battery in those 2 hours. So I feel that yes, it could be close to around 8 hours, perhaps about 6 or 7 hours there on battery life. So the use of it is quite easy, of course. Nice with that joystick, so we can decide to, for example, if you want to hold, keep the camera looking one direction, then you can press that, lock it in place there, and the different modes like tapping it to spin the whole camera around into the selfie mode. That's quite handy. The battery charging is a little bit interesting here. Now, I don't know whether it's because I'm on an early firmware version or I need to update the firmware on the camera, but I've noticed that when you first power it on, yes, it will charge the camera, but later on in use, I've noticed when you have a look at the battery bar, it's not green. Green means it's charging, and it's not charging, so it's kind of on and off. So that I feel they need to work on. Hopefully Xiaomi's going to have a firmware update to address that and fix that problem. The other problem is the application for it. I've gone into Mi Home, I've had a look on the internet, and I can't find anything that addresses the actual gimbal itself. Now, it may be via firmware updates or something, how we update the gimbal, or we need to use Mi Home with the camera, because I can connect up Mi Home to the camera, but it doesn't give me any of the settings there for the gimbal. So maybe that hasn't been implemented yet, so be aware of that. It's just auto powered down. That's what that noise was there. So yeah, it is quite a decent gimbal. So does it apply to everyone? Should everyone get this if they're going to be using this? I feel if you're going to be shooting 4K a lot and handheld, go for it, because it does make a huge difference, because 4K video doesn't have any stabilization. And as you've seen from my sample images there, that it really does make a huge difference to get the shock out, the shocks and the shakes all out of the video there. There's a tiny little bit of movement you can see. It's not perfect, but it does make a big difference. But if you're someone that plans to use the 4K camera on a chest mount or on your helmet mount or something like that, then you can't take really any advantage at all of the gimbal. But the gimbal, they have shown in press images, can be mounted to handlebars and other areas and things like that. They've got like a round bracket that will go on here and then mount onto your standard GoPro style mounting equipment. So I feel mainly just for handheld users to go for this really overall. But for the $114 US price it currently has, I feel it's not a bad purchase. But yeah, as I mentioned, only if you're really going to be getting the full advantage of it. So you mostly shoot handheld like dogs or your kids or something like that, then that is where this comes in handy here. And it is a shame that we can't use this with other devices. So you can't use this with the GoPro. You can't use it with the cell phone. It would have been nice if they had some way of maybe an adapter that you could put in here and then connect up a GoPro, get it to hold onto a GoPro, other action cams, or hold onto a mobile phone. Would have been nice, but I guess this is designed really, it's only just for this device here. So thanks a lot for watching this review. I do hope to see you back in the channel with more up and coming reviews. Bye for now.